Welcome to Shenandoah National Park. One of the most iconic national parks in the entire United States, with over 105 miles of roadway, pretty much right at the ridge of the Blue Mountains in Virginia, from the just outside of Waynesboro all the way up into Front Royal. 105-mile journey that you can dive off here and there to get back into town, but for the most part you're on the ridge and you're looking at different overviews just like this. And today what we're going to look at is a glimpse of each overlook, because maybe you're from the West Coast and you're never going to get a chance really to ride Skyline Drive, which is the road that goes across the ridge of the mountains. Maybe you're a photographer and you're curious about the photography options in the area. Today, I'm going to take you by each stop and we're going to take a look at all of the different overlooks and give you some information about them. And this episode is about all of the southern outlooks on Skyline Drive. When I say south, I mean south of Big Meadows. This is our first stop. It's the McCormick Gap Overlook. We're about 2,234 feet above sea level. Now I'm right at the entrance of this overlook, headed north, just coming out of Waynesboro. The sun rises way over here, and it sets over this way. So it's a decent overlook for sunrise or sunset, unless you want the actual sun in your photo. You're gonna get a lot of color at this one, but you're not gonna get the sun because it's either gonna be over here or over those mountains. Now on the northern section of this overlook, you can get a little bit better view of the sunset area, and you can probably get a little more landscape in your photos or in your perspective. This is Beagle Gap Overlook. I think it's 2532 in elevation. Perfect sunrise spot because the sun rises directly over here. Now on Skyline Drive, you can either get western facing overlooks, which is what McCormick Gap was, or you can get eastern facing overlooks like this one. However, just because they're west or east side of the road doesn't mean that they actually face in a direction that's going to give you a good glimpse of a sunrise or sunset per se, because the road just kind of curves along. This is the northern facing section of this overlook, and you kind of have a ridge that is kind of blocking off any view until it comes back down over here, and then you can kind of get a nice view. You can see some trees are starting to grow up right down in this area, and it's kind of blocking off the view. And however, the sun does rise right over there, so that's pretty awesome for a sunrise photo or experience. That's looking the direction we just came from. There's the north side of the next overlook, which is Calf Mountain Overlook at 2485 above sea level. And this is the southern side that we're coming from. Sun sets over here, which you can see we have some up close trees in the way, and the mountains would block the sun out, but you could get some color out there. However, you can see the trees are again a fairly decent obstacle here. These overlooks are spaced out on Skyline Drive anywhere from a couple hundred feet to, several miles. The problem here is we have a lot of trees that are up close here that are starting to kind of take up the view. Still right in the center here, right by the handicap spot, there's a space between these trees where you can get a good view, and that's pretty much right where the sun's gonna set. This one had me scratching my head a little bit because I thought the last overlook was Sawmill Gap, but that was Sawmill Ridge. This is Sawmill Gap. Very similar overlooks, a little bit different view. You have mountains off to the left, mountains off to the right, and literally a gap is your view. Not a whole lot to see there. It's gonna be hard to get any color in here for sunrise or sunset because there's mountains on both sides. Now this is Turk Mountain Overlook. It's not even on the map, but it has one of the best views on Skyline Drive. It's a western facing overlook, and the sun sets kind of right over in here. Depending on the time of year, that mountain can definitely mess you up, but this is a perfect evening when the light is low, you know, type of scene, and you can see all the countryside there. It's just absolutely beautiful. That's Crimora Lake, which the overlook is named for. 2975 western facing overlook. Absolutely wonderful. Mormons River Overlook, 2975, and it's an eastern facing overlook. And the sun comes up right over here for a sunrise. I mean, absolutely beautiful. Everything's dead in the winter, but in the summer, this is all green and lush and beautiful. One of my favorite sunrise spots on Skyline Drive. This is Rip Rap 2920 western facing. This is Horsehead, 2625 or so, eastern facing overlook. And it's not named on the map, but there is a dot there. Nothing as far as sunrise or sunset opportunities as the sun comes up behind this mountain. But kind of a cool little setup here with these two mountains in the middle. Couple little rock piles here that you can see, and that's pretty cool. This is Trayfoot Mountain, 2575. This is a eastern facing overlook. Really not much here. No potential for great photos. Not a whole lot of anything, just a valley where two fairly close mountains are kind of coming together. And a dead tree. I did notice that there's a little bit of a view on the far south side of this overlook, but the sun sets behind that mountain. A little something, but not really anything special. Although it's not supposed to be the next one on the map, this is, the sign says Shenandoah Overlook. Not a whole lot to see here. You got kind of mountains in the way as far as blocking the sunshine from sunrises and sunsets. Just a little bit of a view kind of down between these two mountains in that valley. It's the northern side, southern side. Kind of a cool mountain right there. It's an eastern facing overlook, and the sun comes up over this mountain, so not much in the way of potential for light here for sunrise or sunset. Pretty decent view with, again, a mountain coming down from the left and a mountain coming down from the right and creating a valley that leads into a bit of a, a meadowland or a farm area. This is Big Run Overlook at 2860. It's a western facing overlook. That's about the best vantage point, kind of between these two mountains with a valley down there, and then the two mountains with all the detail. We've got a sunset, but it's like way over here under these mountains. No sunset or sunrise potential, but a pretty cool overlook. And there are some trees that are up close that kind of give it a little character here. Rocky Top Overlook. This is 2860. Sun sets over here, so not much in the way of potential for sunrise and sunset. That's about the coolest part of the scene, where you have the two mountains, a kind of a valley between them, and then the meadows in the background. Here's your Rocky Top Mountains. And that same meadowland, that country land, farmland we've been following all the way up here. That's a long shot. You know, if you're taking pictures of that meadowland, you need quite a lens to really do anything with it. This is Ivy Creek at 2885, and this is a eastern facing outlook. Fairly tall mountains off on the left side of this scene. However, there's a bit of a valley that's created right here, and that's where the sun rises. And there's a lot of flatlands over there, so this site has some really nice potential for a sunrise photo or sunrise scene. Brown Mountain Overlook, 2840, and is a western facing overlook. The southern side of this overlook is loaded with underbrush, and there's just not much of a view. And to be honest, the northern side is pretty much the same thing. Although you can see some mountains over here that are kind of cool. No real sunrise or sunset options as the sun comes up hard left way over there. This is 2 Mile Run Overlook at 2770. The sun sets hard left, so no real sunrise or sunset options here, but still a pretty cool scene with several mountains that are fairly close with lots of detail and rocks. Loft Mountain Overlook at 2540, and this is a eastern facing outlook. Sun comes up right over here, kind of in the valley of these peaks here, these few mountains. Unfortunately, there's some chicken houses down there. I don't know if you can see those. Pretty cool that the best part of this scene is where the sun's going to be rising. And when this is all green, it's absolutely lush and beautiful. Beldor Hollow, about Elevation around 2,300. Not much here. You're surrounded by mountains that are going to block any views or any light. And this is Rocky Mount Overlook, 2330 in elevation. No real options for sunrise or sunset. This is East Hollow, 2500. It is a western facing overlook, but to be honest, I'm not sure why it's here. All kinds of overgrowth and no real scene to see. I'm not sure you could see anything from here during the summer. This is Bacon Hollow Overlook. The sun comes up over here behind this mountain, so no real sunrise or sunset options here. Cool little valley. It's kind of a nice photo if things were lush and green in the summertime. That might be for, you know, a good photo at the right time of day. This one's not named on the map. I think it's called Sandy Rock, with some country lands and some mountains. There's just not much of a way to see it because there's so much undergrowth here. In the summertime, this might be a complete dead spot. That's about the best looking view, and the camera's about 5.5 feet off the ground right now. This is a western facing overlook, and the sun is hard left. Gonna set over here. Now here we are at Swift Run, and this is 2710, and it's a western facing overlook. Kind of a cool mountain over there in the background. Pretty long ways away. You can see a road or something winding up it. Pretty nice scene. There's a mountain kind of rising in the middle of the scene right there. And there's a mountain background with a nice wide open space here. You can see underbrush is a problem here at times, although they are cutting it. But with sunset over here, you might be able to get some color on the landscape there, but it's kind of hard to tell unless you were actually here at that time, and every time of the year is going to be a little different. This one's very sensitive to when you're shooting here. but a very pretty scene. Now this is Hensley Hollow, 2560, western facing overlook. Sunset's right over here, but that is a fairly tall mountain range over there, so it's gonna, I don't know how much color you're gonna get on the landscape. You might get some color firing off behind the mountains at sunset, but it's gonna be pretty hard to get color on the landscape, although the landscape is very pretty, a lot of meadow farmland. This is South River Overlook at 2950, an eastern facing overlook. Very narrow. Right here is all you have. However, that is where the sun rises. So excellent potential here as far as seeing the actual sunrise. Not a whole lot as far as landscape that's gonna, get real colorful. But the background, which is out there quite a ways, I think it'd be pretty nice looking if the sun hit it just right. You see how far away that is. Pretty scene, just rough for any pictures. Kind of a nice scene here. I like this bald-faced mountain. We're at 2950, and if you remember this mountain right here, that's that mountain that we saw earlier with the road going up to it. That's about where the sun sets, is over there. So this scene has some potential for a sunset scene. However, you see the ridge there in the background. I'm not sure how much color would pop into this valley before that sun was to get over that ridge and not be able to supply, much color. And you might be able to get this beautiful meadowlands here and all this farmland that's intermixed with, grass fields and trees with some color on it, or at least in the sky, if you had just the right circumstances. This is a really pretty scene. And this is the Oaks at 3125. That's a bit of a narrow scene because of the underbrush on the left and the right. It doesn't look like they're doing a whole lot of maintaining that. Not much in the potential as far as sunrise or sunset because the sunset's hard left behind these trees, but you might get some color popping through here. And this is the point. We're at 3235, a western facing overlook. Lots of beautiful rolling hills and mountains on the right side. A couple trees here up close in the middle. And then over there is where all the good stuff is. The sun is going to set right in that area. You can see it's starting to kind of, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's starting to head that direction now. And this has the potential to be a very, very pretty scene as there, you're gonna have the colors coming across and then hitting the tops of these hills. The light here could really do some wonderful things with all the rolling hills. Welcome to Hazeltop Overlook. We're at 3825 on a western facing overlook. The sun sets right back in there, which we've kind of been following that valley for quite a ways. Seems like a lot of overlooks on the west side here. I think if the sun, which is gonna come from over here, shines on these mountaintops just right here in just a little while, you know, you got a little bit of clouds in the sky. This could really make for a beautiful scene. There's one tree that's kind of stinking in the way right here, but it is what it is. Very wide scene. Very beautiful and maintained. They cut all the underbrush down. This is Naked Creek Overlook at 3250 western facing, and our sun is gonna kind of go down right where it is now. It's gonna kind of go down that way, but I don't think that we're close enough really for this site to be anywhere near as good as the previous couple of sites. The landscape was just better there. There's a lot of underbrush here, although they cut a lot of it down. What's there is pretty tall, as you can see. The only real view, or good view, like I said, is a narrow one right straight ahead. Could be really pretty. This one's hard to say, but I wouldn't risk it here. I'd just go back to one of the previous two, to be honest with you. This is Tanner's Ridge Overlook, 3465, facing west. You can see the undergrowth here is tall enough that it's really kind of hurting the view. The sun sets way over there, and there's trees, and we're just not in a good spot for the sunset. It's possible you could get some light on these rolling hills if you get it at the exact right time. And that brings us to Big Meadows, where the Bird Visitor Center is, which basically is the halfway point on Skyline Drive through Shenandoah National Park. We've covered 33 overlooks with fantastic views. Went over some of the highlights of them. Also pointed out maybe some of the negative features so you don't waste your time with them. Hopefully this will be a great resource for you to help make your trips to Shenandoah National Park a little more streamlined. Make sure you check our other video out about all the stops north of Big Meadows. I will tell you the southern section of Skyline Drive features more western facing overlooks, whereas the northern section features more eastern overlooks. So if sunrise or sunset is your objective, keep that in mind. If you could support the channel by sharing this video, giving it a like if you enjoyed it, as well as subscribing. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, it'll help us grow and reach more people. I hope you guys have an awesome week, and I'll see you on the next video.